Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Citations to the sincere Akim and Aquath and listen. May the blessing of election be over your house. My name is Brother Akwai. I'm back in here with another lesson. And for today's lesson is going to be touching on what is bread and circuses, right? So this is a popular term that you might have heard, other brothers or the elders, apostles may have talked about. So what I want to do is kind of dive a little bit into the history and kind of, kind of outline how this relates to today, and and part of it is inspiration of these other camps as well, because they're pushing a very mirth spirit over our people, and that's kind of what causes our people to be devoured, right? Because when they're all constantly in that mirth spirit, they don't see the enemy coming, right? So essentially this bread and circuses is a tactic by the enemy, right? So the scriptures say that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness in high places, right? So when the enemy, these elites, these Edomites, that are coming to devour you Israelites, because you're constantly in that spirit and in that mindset, you don't pay attention to the enemy because you're feeling sluggish. You have that itis feeling, not just in your stomach, but also in your mind, right? So this is one of the tactics of the enemy, because in ancient Rome, as I want to outline in this article, this is something that they used to do, right? So as a matter of fact, I didn't have this precept up, but let's grab it. I think is it 10? Oh, okay, this works. Okay, Sirach 12 and 10, and it reads, "Never trust thine enemy, for as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Let's see. Oh, this is the precept I actually wanted. So this is verse 16, and it reads, "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood." Right? So this is one of the tactics, right, that is employed by these Edomites and these elites, right? Because they push that over that heavy mirth, joyful spirit over our people, right? So people get they get swept off their feet by that. So without further ado, let's actually just jump into the article, right? So so this article is kind of long, but I want to touch on a couple paragraphs, and I want to just interject here and there. Then yeah, how this would be an edifying lesson, right? So what I would do is also link it in the description. Okay, so down here, hang on, just give me 1 second, brothers. Okay, I'll just start from here. Then I'll just jump around. Okay, so here it says bread and circuses. So this term is actually it was thought of by a Roman poet named Juvenal, and his okay, so let me just give a little introduction of where this term actually goes back to. Okay, so here it says Juvenal was not the only reflecting on an upper class contempt for working people, but regretting the loss of Rome's republic when people used to elect their government representatives. Since Roman history was written by wealthy men and senatorial class, or by those who had attached themselves to political interests, Roman historians had little sympathy for the lower classes, but the phrase bread and circuses always gives us a window into the lives and struggles of the urban masses of ancient Rome, as well as a mirror to analyze our own social and political constitution, right? So Augustus, the first emperor, well, in this the article says that he was the first emperor, but technically it was Julius Caesar, and historians will normally say that because um, they won't consider Julius Caesar to be the first emperor because Caesar was actually his last name, right? And this is where the practice of that practice also goes back to, because another example is I believe in Germany. In Germany, they have Kaiser, that term Kaiser, and in Russia, I believe, prior to I think the Communist Revolution, you had the Tsars. So it's Czars. So those were their titles, right? So technically, Augustus wasn't the first emperor; it was Julius Caesar, right? He was one of the 12 out of all those Caesars, right? Had wiped out meaningful elections and semblance of a republic. Romans were no longer able to have an impact on government decisions through elected politicians, therefore could not appeal to the emperor through demonstrations. And if he had failed to recognize their claims, they sometimes resorted to rioting. The Roman elite referred to the masses as the mob. This might sound familiar, basket of deplorables. However, the mob was not the dregs of society, but rather mostly consisted of shopkeepers, craftsmen, transportation, construction workers, who had legitimate grievances to air, right? So you see the same spirit that's over, in Babylon and countries that wander after the beast, right? That take on that same vibration, right? You have those people on top, and then you have, yeah, like, you have these different two-party systems, like, you know, um, your Democrats and Republicans, right? You still have that same structure as back then, and then you still have that right now, right? So one of the parties will more represent the people below, and then you have the other ones that represent, the people who are above the upper echelon, right? Back then they were known as patricians, and they were known as plebeians. Plebeians were your more lower class people, and your patricians were like your upper class, sort of folks, right? So let's, as a matter of fact, okay, so this is Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9, and it reads, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." Um, Verse 10, "Is there anything whereof it might be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us." So all this infrastructure, these philosophies, um, this in did I say infrastructure? So all these different factions that make up the society in Babylon, this was already of old time, right? These tactics were done before, so there's really and truly nothing new under the sun, right? So down here is where I really want to get to. Okay, so here it says Brennan Circuses described how ancient Rome placated its citizens with free food and entertainment in a city that was critically overpopulated, often hungry, and angry at the politicians. To keep the people satisfied and unquestioning of the government, emperors provided free bread and daily entertainment. When you go into the etymology, as a matter of fact, let me just go into this real quick. When you go into the etymology for the word fun, down here it says diversion, right? Amusement, mirthful sport, right? So what is it really doing? Fun and that mirthful spirit, because back then they were having the Colosseum and they're having all these games and wild animals, and you had your people, fighting against wild animals and all that and all that stuff, right? So all this entertainment's going on. Just like today, these modern day gladiators are your, sports players, your basketball players making lots and lots of money. And during, I believe it was after Nero, that's when the dollar actually began to be debased, essentially, right? So that essentially what that means is that the content in the silver, the denarius, the coin that the Romans had used, they were beginning to mix it with other metals, right? So eventually it was starting to cheapen the the value of the coin itself. Just like everything that's happening today, right? So when you push a bunch of uh, uh, you push all this entertainment, people don't consider and ask all these questions. Oh, why is gas going up? Oh, why are job salaries being stagnant? They're not asking themselves these questions because their minds are over over like like oversaturated, essentially, with these different pleasures that they see around them, right? So let's oh, one second. Let's grab. Okay, so this is Isaiah 29 verse 10. Oh, let's start at 9 actually. So it says, stay yourselves and wonder, cry ye out, and cry, they are drunken, not with wine, they stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Lord Yahweh hath poured upon you the spirit of deep sleep, hath closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, seers hath he covered. Right? So these people have that spirit of slumber and that spirit of deep sleep over them, right? So they're not able to aware and discern the times that they're in, right? So when it says the prophets and your rulers, the seers, he hath covered, because, they're not taking heed to, Israel, and our people are not taking heed, they're not taking heed to, the prophets and their message, to actually straighten up, become more upright, and, put away your filthy behaviors, put away your filthy idols, and come back to serving the Lord, right? They're not taking heed to those messages, right? Wash yourself and make you clean, because the Most High, through His Son Yahweh Shai is that physician that can bind you back up, right? That can give you closure, especially in the times to come, right? And they're not taking heed to these things because they're so taken and captivated by, the allure of Babylon, the great whore, the pleasures, right? When they're so comfortable, right? The feeling when you get, after you have a meal, you let your belly out, you want to kick back and relax. Our people are constantly and always in that mindset. That's why it's not healthy to be in that mindset, all the time, right? Only within a certain like small measure, but most of the time we're going to be in a spirit of mourning, right? And a spirit of actually wanting to do right and wanting to do righteousness. But the scriptures also say that Lot was vexed with the conversations of the wicked, right? So when you look at your environment, you look and you think about the scriptures and how things should be, you get vexed because this is not a way a society should run, right? We have the whole pride thing, the alphabet gang that's pushing that filthy garbage philosophy upon our people in the schools and your children. And anyways, let me stop ranting, but let me just continue. um Where did I leave off? Just give me 1 second. But there was no generosity here. It was simply pragmatic to maintain their political and military power structure across three continents. Moreover, the entertainment reflected life in general under the empire, from the brutality of bloodshed and avoidance of starvation, right? Today, we can easily draw parallels. Bread and circus can be substituted with anything that achieves the goal of keeping this is the key point, keeping um, people's mind, keeping people distracted from injustices. So, case in point, what did we go through in a couple of years ago? You know, the whole C18 plus one and their booster juice, right? People are not asking these questions, because there was an article that also came out saying how, because in Canada, the prime minister, he said that, oh, he did not force the people to take the booster juice, right? And people are not asking these questions, right? And because when you're constantly being filled with a bunch of entertainment that's constantly around you, you're not able to discern of the times that you're in, right? Um, Um, I was going to read that again. Today, we can easily draw parallels. Bread and circuses can be substituted with anything that achieves the goal of keeping people distracted from injustices by created by the government. For example, bread stamps and entertainment can be sports. Bread and circus is an old phrase that can be used in any time period, and it still can be applicable to current social and political issues, right? So that concludes the end. And what I'm going to do is let's go to, I think I read that one actually. Uh, okay, this is First Thessalonians chapter 5. Um, I'll start at 2 and read down. And so, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord Yahweh cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, and then sudden destruction come upon them, as a woman, as travail upon a woman. Salakia, let me read that again. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye brethren, ye are not in the darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief, right? Because you understand that the times that you're in, and you're discerning, what's going on in the world, right? Scriptures also say, measure the times, diligently, right? So, continuing on, it says that the day shall not overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of the light and the children of the day, but we are not in the night nor in of darkness, right? Because we have this understanding of what's going on. We have this knowledge of what's going on. You have an inside scoop, essentially, right? Verse 6, therefore let us not all sleep as others do. Oh, Salakia. Therefore let us not sleep as do others, right? So, you have 2/3 of our people that are, sleeping, right? They're enjoying the pleasures, especially that's the spirit that's being pushed on these other camps. And the scriptures also say, the leaders cause you to err, right? So you have leaders that are pushing that spirit, that very mirthful spirit, rather than a very sorrowful spirit, and to get upright and get closer to the Lord. Essentially, they're not pushing that, right? They're pushing, everything is good, there's nothing coming, there's no train coming, and so on and so forth, right? And that's causing people to stay asleep. For they that sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. Verse 8, let us who are in the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet the hope of salvation, right? So that's girding up our minds and continuously taking on this knowledge and understanding the things that our forefathers have done, when they went through tribulation, as we will go through, right? The things that are written before our time are written for our learning, right? So that will give us comfort, when we are in those moments, right? We're in those dark times, right? So, anyways, I will leave it there. But the whole chapter is good, because it also talks about praying, cease without praying, and so on and so forth. But anyways, hopefully this video was edifying, just to shine a light on, that which is then is now, and there is no new thing under the sun, right? So this is one of the tactics of the enemy that the enemy likes to employ, right? And our enemy, these are these elites, these bankers that push this new world order agenda upon our people, right? Upon the world, right? But our people are too asleep to actually notice what's going on, right? Anyways, hopefully this video was edifying, and I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say, Shalom.